You want the best version of yourself, right? Like any mother would. I mean, I get frustrated and stressed out just like a lot of moms. I mean,
do you ever feel mom guilt?
Sometimes, like, I'm pretty good. I'm just really hard on myself. I think that being a parent is a gift, and it's not something that we should take for granted. And for many years, Francis and I tried, we were without success. And I feel that we have that power within ourselves to perhaps take whatever adversity is thrown your way, which, by the way, I think is important to have every once in a while, because if you live a life without adversity, you have no idea how to deal with life.
Right. You are watching another episode of the Elena Cardone Show. I bring it to you every single week. Today, I will not disappoint. I'm with Gloria Suarez, who is the mayor of Miami's wife, who actually, Mayor Suarez ran for, he was a presidential campaign. Well, he campaigned candidate. So we have a lot to talk about because you are so busy. I want to just know so many things about your life and how you do it all, and you know, how guarded do you have to be? But we'll deep dive into everything in just a moment. Tell me a little bit about your upbringing. I know you're Cuban. Your husband's Cuban too.
Yes. Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your upbringing and your Cuban roots, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, Elena, thank you for having me. It's always wonderful to see you and very special to be on your show today. So I was actually born in Spain.
Me too.
Where?
Madrid.
Zaragoza. We're 3 hours apart.
All right.
I didn't know
All right.
that.
Well, I left when I was 1. I was born an American. You left when you were 1? Were you born as an American citizen?
I'm actually, we had this conversation just today. I am an American citizen, and I'm applying for my dual citizenship right now. So a Spanish, but I'm...
Wait, so you were born a Spanish...
I was born in Spain. So
as a Spanish...
Yes. So as a Spanish citizen. And then I was, because at that age, you're so young. My father was in medical school, and my mom and dad had been living there for about 15 years. And I was born, so at 1.5 or so, came over to the United States. So I was in Zaragoza, but grew up in Miami. So I could say born there, but raised in Miami. So Cuban-American parents. I'm the oldest of 4 siblings. We're 2 girls, 2 boys. And went to school here, university here in Miami.
What did you study?
Hospitality management and business. So I worked in hotels and have worked in hotels and restaurants and events and sales my whole career.
And you have an events business currently?
I do. So I consult right now. So I would say the better part of my 20s and early 30s, I was in the hotel business, and then actual physical hotels. And then I went on my own, opened a boutique firm, and did social and corporate planning for another 10 years up until the pandemic. And then we just revisited everything with the campaign and my husband's political career, et cetera. And now I'm doing consulting, like case by case, though.
Okay. When did he become mayor?
He was elected mayor in 2018.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So
you were doing your events business
throughout,
even when he was mayor.
Yes.
And then you kind of stopped that in 2020?
So he's been in office 15 years. Prior to him being a mayor, he was a commissioner. So we represented City of Miami District 4.
Wow.
And he was there for 2 terms. And then
How long's a term?
4 years.
Same as mayor?
Yes.
How many terms can you serve? Oh, as mayor? 2. 2 and 2. So he did 2 for the commissioner?
Correct. Yes, because he finished the prior commissioner's term, and then he served his 2 terms. And then we ran in 2018, and my daughter was born that year. So that's why I remember that very well. And then, so that was in 2018. And I, had the company all the way till about 2020, 2021, finished wrapping up all my events that were postponed due to the pandemic.
Right.
And then he filed for office to run as a presidential campaign last summer.
And so when that happens, what do you have to stop?
Not at all.
Okay.
I could continue.
The spouses can continue doing whatever.
No issue whatsoever. But because we have 2 small children,
right,
9 and 5, my son just turned 10, and it is a presidential campaign, all hands on deck.
What did that look like? What is like? Not many people sit in that chair, have any reality of what does it look like behind the scenes of a presidential campaign.
Well, it's a great question. And to be honest, we had a very positive experience. And a lot of people say, oh my goodness, I can't believe you did that. Or I get a lot, I can't believe you handled that. Or how did you give your husband permission to do that? And all these crazy questions. But the way we went about it, and it wasn't something that was from one day to another. We had been discerning that decision for a good year and a half. And when he finally made the decision earlier last year, and we started to put all our ducks in a row and say when was the right moment, we made that decision in June. So it was great because it was going into the summer months. The effect on our children was minimal in the sense that they were out of school. It was summer vacation. We were traveling. We were on the campaign trail in all the primary states. They had an opportunity to see.
They were with you.
Oh, absolutely. They were with us every step of the way.
Did they like it?
They loved it. They loved it. I think one of our fondest memory was July 4th in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
What happened?
Oh, it was excellent. We had made it that all four of us would be there the morning of. Francis ran a 5K that morning. We made pancakes at the neighborhood ice skating rink, which obviously is not a rink in the summer. We were with all, the community going to this parade. We went to a firework display, went to a car show, and all the while the kids just with us. And
so how old are the kids?
People. Andrew just turned 10 and Gloriana's 5.
So, okay, I have kids too, and that's a lot of events. And when my kids don't eat or they're really tired, there's internal, stress.
Right.
Well, how do you, so you're painting this perfect day, and I'm here sitting here thinking, I don't have those in my life.
Well, the good news is that mom is a planner. So my background really kicks in when it comes to these.
Because you have the meals, you have the
yes, and we have a great team. We have a great team. Okay. So without our team in general, we work in tandem and we support each other. And the kids are great. It was actually a perfect age.
It was.
It really was. They're not too small that it's, the meals and the naps, etc. And they're not too old where they're in their teenage years and they don't want to hang out with mom and dad. So it was great.
Oh,
they had a great time.
That's good. Okay, so back to presidential campaign. So was it nasty? Is politics nasty?
I'll be honest. On a national level, first of all, we overlapped many times at several events with the other candidates, and everyone was very lovely, really. I can't say anything negative about that experience. All the candidates, all their families.
But would you if you could? Or could I what? Let's pretend like somebody was nasty. In the position that you're in, could you even really say anything?
Not really. Absolutely not. And you take the high road. You take the high road. Absolutely. You always take the high road.
I don't feel like I don't know if I'm really getting all the truth or if there's...
Well, you never know. Everyone is very politically correct and kind and kosher and, just we behave very... I mean, for me, it's very natural to be that way. So it's not out of our comfort level.
But did it feel authentic from everybody else?
For the most part, I want to say yes, at least the spouses, because I dealt primarily with the spouses. So they were all very kind and lovely with me.
Now, did you have any, and you don't obviously have to say any names, but did you have anyone where you thought, oh, we're getting along great, this is nice, and then they may have done something afterwards that shocked you and you were like, I thought we were friends?
Well, remember, we were on the trail for a short period of time because we had benchmarks, right? So you have the different debates and we decided that if Francis did not elevate to the next level and as far as debates and whatnot, he was going to make the decision and bow out, which is why our tenure was short. But so we didn't have to get into the trenches, if you will.
Got it. Where it
didn't get to that point. And so the experience we had was a very positive one. I'm sure if it would have continued, it might more likely than not have been more difficult.
But does the campaign... Did you hire people?
Yes,
you have to hire a team.
Whole team, yes.
So like a super PAC funded it, or how does that work?
Well, every campaign's different. You have your own presidential team, and then there's every candidate may or may not have a super PAC. But we, with the team that we worked with, we would go to all the events with, and the super PAC and the campaign team cannot overlap. So they do their own thing, we do ours.
Got it.
And that is the way it's to be done.
And do they give you advice like don't let your guard down, or anything, just dress professionally? Like, what was the advice that are the teams talking to the spouses?
Well, Absolutely. I mean, I'm part of that discussion, and with my husband and Francis from the very beginning, thankfully, and I think that this is key. Number one, we come from a background of political office. So we have been in office. We've been in this political light for 15 years. So elevating to a national level, it's a little bit more complex because it's faster, but the rules are the same.
What are the rules?
In the sense that you obviously handle yourself, carry yourself in a certain way, in private and in public. There isn't much of a difference for us. We're very, what you see is what you get, and transparent. So on a national level, it's just more events at a faster pace and larger audiences. And you are advised, obviously the demographics are different. You're with different people all the time. But for the most part, the advice is if we were just plucked out of a different environment and placed, I'm sure it would be a lot harder. But thankfully, we were conditioned. We were ready.
Do they tell you not to drink in public? Alcohol?
No. I was never told not to. But then again, we rarely do. So
right.
There wasn't anything that made me uncomfortable or out of my comfort zone, I guess. It was probably the best answer.
Wow, that is incredible. So were you with Francis, your husband, before he got into politics?
Yes.
So how did y'all get into politics? Were you into politics before him?
Not at all.
How does that conversation, how do you decide that this is where we're going? You're a hospitality industry.
Right. So my background, my parents are in the medical field. I'm in sales, non-political family. Obviously, we vote and we're registered and whatnot, but we were I did not come from a political family, whereas my husband did. So my father-in-law was a former mayor of the city of Miami, and he grew up in this world. When I met Francis, I was 25. He was 27. He's an attorney, so that's his background. And he was working in a firm, and I was working in hotels. And we met, started dating. It was a quick dating timeline. We were engaged and married within a year and a half, almost 2 years. So
you knew it immediately?
It was, yes.
Okay.
I think we had kind of
the connection.
Yeah, it existed. It was good. It was real. And then the opportunity came in about 2 years later for a political seat, and a commissioner in the city of Miami, was moving on, and we lived in the district. So the conversation was had, and he said, "What do you think about this?" And I said, "Well, this is not something I've ever done before. I guess you'll have to lead the way, and we'll learn as we go." And we ran for office for the first time, and he was elected in 2009.
Was that so exciting?
It was. It really was. And I loved, the best part about it was that we obviously were newlyweds, young couple, and all our friends were in the same boat. So everybody was starting their career. Well, they're already in their careers, but no one really had kids yet. So we had volunteers coming out of the woodwork, and it was a grassroots campaign. Wow. And it was wonderful to see many, many, many friends and family members all got involved. So that win was a big one.
What does the commissioner do?
The city of Miami has 5 districts. So there's a commissioner that represents each one of those 5 districts. And they have their jurisdiction within the city, and they are in charge of everything that happens within those city, within the lines of that district. So they obviously sit on the commission. They pass their ordinances and laws as a body.
Wow.
But they represent their own individual districts. So in our case, it was District 4. And so anything that pertained to that area, they would advocate for them, their constituency.
Whoa. And so, okay, so does he have to give up his own business at this time?
No.
So you could do both?
Yes.
You could be commissioner and work on your... Wow.
Correct.
And
Same thing with mayor.
Same thing with mayor?
Correct.
Yeah. What is his business?
He's an attorney. So
he's still an attorney.
He practices law.
And his own firm, or he's a partner?
He's part of a firm itself.
Okay, so they're okay. That's good. They must work with them, obviously.
Yes.
So did this commissioner help y'all get some sort of stardom?
I mean, stardom, and I guess what's the definition of stardom? But whereas he had more name recognition as a commissioner, then becomes mayor, and then a commissioner is equal to a councilman. Every city has them. It's the city council that passes the laws within the city. Mm-hmm. And then he went from commissioner and he ran for mayor. And so as a mayor, you have a little bit more of a name recognition. You have more of you become the ambassador of the city.
Right.
So, and then he was able to elevate Miami to where it is today. And we're so proud of that work.
It's good work. And he is busy because I saw him at a few of the Michael Milken events. How do y'all handle having to make all these appearances all the time? I'm sure there is days when you don't feel like it. You just know that's part of the job, or what do you do?
It was part of the job. I mean, he does several different events. He obviously has his work with the firm. He is the face of the city as our mayor. He has a lot of events he has to go to, openings, ribbon cuttings, special events. And then in addition to that, he has his work events. So for instance, he attends conferences, different things that happen in the city or outside of the city. And he represents them, whether it's in his own personal capacity or as mayor. So it is quite a bit. He has to juggle that. And then his family, we obviously are part of that mix, and he's really good at prioritizing that. And we work as a good team.
And what about, has he ever considered governor?
He has, and we'll see. We'll see. You never know. That is usually the next step. We'll see.
Okay. We got a little inside scoop there.
See, we never know. You never know.
You never know.
You never know.
What is the greatest challenge in all of this life? Is it backstabbing? What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you?
Well, you mean myself or in the...
You. Let's start you first.
Well, I think anyone in their career may have moments of, you have ups and downs in anything. So in your career, in your personal life, I think that the good news is that adversity in any capacity is not necessarily a negative. And I feel that we have that power within ourselves to perhaps take whatever adversity is thrown your way, which, by the way, I think is important to have every once in a while, because if you live a life without adversity, you have no idea how to deal with life.
Right.
And so it's taking whatever you have on a negative, perhaps that may have a negative light, and flipping it to the positive and trying to grow from it and make the best of it. And it may be, it's definitely going to be a teaching lesson, and it'll make you stronger to be able to handle any other future adversity. So that can fit in any.
Have you had,
life.
Does one come to mind, or can you not talk about it?
No, absolutely. I mean, there's several things personally and throughout my career that I've had to deal with. I'll give you an example, which we openly talk about it, but Francis and I did struggle with infertility. We couldn't have children immediately. And that was something that kind of everyone thinks is in the cards. You get married, you have a kid, you have a second kid, you buy a house. It's all kind of falls into line. And for many years, Francis and I tried, and we were without success. And our first child, our son, who was our miracle, truly, he came after 7 years of marriage.
Wow.
And so it was a very difficult time. And for me as a woman, it was a very difficult thing, because I always just envisioned myself as a mother at some point or another. And so that adversity, but we grew. I grew as an individual. We grew as a couple.
Did that take a strain on the marriage?
It always does, to a certain extent, because you're stressing out about this, not happening, and what do we need to do? And did we want to take extraordinary measures? Did we just kind of want to let it happen? And we went the conservative route, and we're a family of faith, and we put a lot of trust in God and said, you know what, let it be your will, and whenever the right time is. And that in and of itself was a testament also to my peers, that other women who were dealing with that and didn't speak about it. It's really not spoken too much about if you are struggling with that. And so it brought us together very much as a couple. And then when he finally came, we found out on Father's Day that I was pregnant in the middle of a campaign, walking door to door. And then Andrew, our son, was born, 10 months later or 9 months later. And so, it's a beautiful story. And back then you're struggling and you're suffering, but now I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah.
Because I look at it differently.
You do? How so?
I think that being a parent is a gift, and it's not something that we should take for granted. It's not an automatic that you're going to have children, and perhaps you may not.
Right.
And I, again, being a person of faith, I truly believe that that's a gift from God, and we have to take care of that child and do the best we can, and then, they will move on to become adults themselves. So
right. That's such an important role, right?
And a big responsibility as a mom.
Huge. How do you feel when you are obligated to an event and the kids 9 and 5 don't want you to go out and cry and you
I get that
feel
sometimes.
guilty? How do you deal with that? Because I think there's a lot of working mothers or
Absolutely.
out there that have to deal with that.
I agree. And first off, I think I'm very grateful. I'm grateful that I have the flexibility of schedule to have my own business where I don't have to put in those very stringent hours, where I know that there's a lot of working mothers that have to be there at 8 and leave at 7, and they can't pick up their own children at school and do the after school activity, et cetera, et cetera. I understand that and I see that.
Yeah.
And I sympathize because I know that as a mother, we naturally just want to be there, And so I think that's wonderful. And you absolutely need to do what's best for your family at that time. And
Right.
And if working that position is right now what you need to do, absolutely. And again, everybody's financial situation is different and family dynamic is different.
That's right.
And whether the husband can work or the mother has to work and all those different things. In my case, I worked that shift, if you will. I did the 60-hour work week throughout my 20s and into my 30s, and my first child came at 34. So when Andrew was on his way is when I made that change. And thankfully, I was grateful to my husband that now he was in a position where he could kind of carry the load. And we both, although we're working throughout our careers, I was able to take a step back and open the boutique firm and manage my own schedule and be available to the kids. So what I do now on a political or on a level, on a political light, where I am asked to be at several things, and I have my own role for women in the city of Miami, I have to be very selective, and I plan accordingly to make sure that I attend the events that are most important, but that I'm also home. And
let's note that she attended 10X Ladies after she just said she attends the ones that are the most important.
Yes. It was a wonderful conference.
That was right.
Great.
Okay,
It was
go on.
great.
But more about you. I was taking my moment.
No. But you do a wonderful job. I must say, that was an incredible conference. But you have to plan. You have to plan and make sure that, because I do get, Mommy, are you going out tonight? Or Mommy, who's babysitting tonight? And for the most part, again, I look ahead, I forecast, I look at our schedule, I look ahead, months ahead, what am I needed to be at? And my husband always says, he goes, I would love to have you there at everything, but I understand that you can't.
Right.
And I'm there enough.
Right.
For both.
Yeah, because there was certain events that I saw him attend at the Michael Milken event that I didn't see you at, but then I saw you attend some of the other ones. Right. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, you have to, it's a juggling act.
It is.
But you plan. As long as you plan ahead, you're okay.
So have you ever considered going into politics for yourself?
I've been asked that before. That's so funny.
Or are you thinking about it now? No.
She's like, right now, I am, I support my husband. We have a road ahead. I don't know what's in store. We'll see what comes ahead. And whether it's on a, national level or not, I don't know. But I'm a mom. I'm a mom, and I am a spouse, and I am a business owner. So I have to maintain that and keep that.
So you look ahead.
Yes.
Do you see yourself in, let's say, when the kids are teenagers?
Yes.
You said yourself where they want to, maybe they don't really want to hang out with y'all all the time. Maybe that could happen. I don't know. But let's say it does.
Right.
At that time, would you consider kind of going back more heavily into your career?
Absolutely. I think it's an opportunity to reinvent yourself and see where your industry is at that time. The hospitality industry has changed. It evolves. It's constantly growing, and in Miami more so. I mean, it is.
And that's what you love. You love the events.
I love events, and I love sales. So my whole background is sales and marketing. Planning events is definitely my bread and butter.
So like you plan the theme, you get the rentals, that
logistical
stuff, right?
manager of everything that has to do with an event, whether it's 20 people at a private home or 500 people, that is very easy for me. A lot of people say, I can't even imagine it. I could do that in my sleep, in the sense that it comes naturally to me. I'm glad I'm able to do that. So where the industry may or may not be in the next couple of years,
What do you mean? Like where would it have to be?
Well, no, I'm just saying like you want to understand at that point. For instance, I was an event planner for 10 years, and I did strictly social planning. So I was doing a lot of weddings, galas, bar and bat mitzvahs, a little bit of everything in that realm. Would I go back and do that right now? Most likely not. I would be more corporate. I just feel like I've evolved.
We're corporate.
There you go. There you go.
Huh.
And it's not that I don't love the social, but I think that my level of expertise has changed a little bit. Mm-hmm. So on a corporate level, I have a little bit more there that I can do and consult in that realm.
And then tell me about sales and marketing. What do you do for that? What is that?
Well, how does that was on the hotel, right? That's okay. A part of the hotel component whereas I event plan and do my own marketing for a small boutique firm, which I had for 10 years. I worked in sales and marketing for hotels themselves, and I would sell the property. So that is, again, events within.
And you're doing the F&B, the food and beverage and all of that stuff. You're doing the contracts for the hotels. Exactly. Yes. Okay. I get it now. But you don't do that in your events business.
Well, I manage my own contracts, but it's more like the planning and executing in my own business.
And so how many events do you do a year?
Well, that was an excellent question, depending what year it was. And so it always ebb and flowed based on where the market was in the city. I remember 2007 was a massive year, and I was working every weekend, 2 to 3 events a weekend.
And how much,
incredible.
Like, how much do you make in a weekend for that?
Well,
like event, how much does one event pay?
That is such a fluid number, and I'll tell you why. Everything has to do with size, venue, location, time of year, whether I work on a percentage, whether I work on a set price point, what my client, I would tailor everything. That was on my personal side. And obviously when I worked in the hotels, I was salary based.
Okay. Can you say how much you made as a salary in the hotel?
This was a long time ago. But at that time when I started my career,
I'm guessing 100.
It was about 85.
Okay.
At that time. And we're talking like 20 years.
So now is it about 100 or a little more?
I think an event planner is about 100, about 120, I think. Okay. I think. I'm not sure. And depends on, again, Miami's changed quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So the demand is higher and what, how that's influencing salaries these days. I'm not sure.
And then as an event owner, are you comfortable talking about like what is an event? Like obviously, how many events do you do a year?
I'll give you an example. In my case, I would not take on more than one a weekend. Right? Okay. Because it depends the size. I was more at that time focused on that social wedding component where they were larger weddings, 200 to 300 people. It was a destination. It would take over the
So that's weekend. More money.
Correct.
Would you take on a job that only has 20 people?
I would.
And do you charge them the same amount as the 200 wedding?
No. So then how do you... So I would work on percentage, and usually
what does that mean, percentage?
An event planner usually makes about 10% of the entire event budget.
And okay, so now as a person that would be hiring an event person, how would I think that they have my best interest in mind, or how do I protect them not jacking up the price?
Great question. Which is why I worked on set price points. So I would give them a scope of work, right? And I would give them a price point. Again, whatever that was based on time of year, location, how many days, how much work. Like I would build out that scope and I would give them X. It would not change regardless what they would spend. Okay. So the trust factor existed.
Good.
And that was a great business practice for me. It worked for us for many, many, many years, my business partner and I. And I don't know if that still works in the industry. That's why. In the future, should I reinvent myself? I'd have to see what are the trends, what is working right now. Everything changes. It really does evolve. All the industries evolve.
Got it. Would you ever partner up your event business with another company?
I would definitely take a look at that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have no one's ever hired you to bring people to events?
You mean as to capture an audience and bring them to an event?
Yeah.
No. I would just up until now has right.
Yeah,
correct.
But you probably have a big database.
I do.
Yeah,
I do. But then it depends. I also have to be very careful what
you're endorsing.
Correct. Everything has to be
Right.
vetted appropriately. And
Who does the vetting?
well, I definitely do. And, I also have to be careful because my husband is an elected official.
Right.
And there cannot be any conflict of interest there. And
Yeah, because you can't have, like, what would you do? I mean, maybe this is fun. I'm glad you brought that up. Let's say you're doing an event. Somebody's paid you to put on an event, a party for them, a wedding or whatever. And you're walking around, you're doing your thing. And at this private party, they start smoking weed. Let's start there. They're smoking weed. What do you do?
Well, I think, so I'll be honest. When I began, when Francis's career started, political, I guess, career started to elevate, I was less inclined to take on events because it was a little bit awkward where they now knew me in a different capacity.
Right.
So I would sub out my teams to handle the actual day of. I would do all the behind.
Yeah, because you
scenes
work. Right. Yes.
That's where it was a little bit uncomfortable, and therefore I didn't want to be placed in those situations.
Right.
Not necessarily that there's doing drugs or anything like that, but I'm just saying.
But
like,
if it's somebody's private party.
but if that happened, I never saw it.
Right.
Right. But I'm not saying that would that is I cannot control that.
So awkward.
Because that
imagine
is
if
not
it was
my
worse.
private home. Correct.
Right.
I mean, I never had to encounter that, but
And do you have
just
any?
in general, I didn't like being in a scenario where people are kind of like, wait a minute, aren't you? And then they're trying to make the connection and they're like, what are you doing here? I'm not sure. When that began to happen is where I said, ooh, hold on. I need to kind of take a step back. Still event plan, behind the scenes, you hiring me. I'm definitely, but the day of, someone else will be my proxy, if you will.
Yeah.
And that worked out very well for a long time.
Yeah, that kind of protects you from whatever goes on.
Yeah.
Do you have them sign anything in the contract that says they can't partake in weird stuff?
I don't. I didn't get to the point where, again, remember, I took a step back post-pandemic, right at the pandemic. So it was prior to any of his presidential.
Right. So, okay, so the most difficult thing you've been through in your marriage, it's fair to say, would be the infertility.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all overcame that,
Yes.
clearly. You have 2 children.
Thankfully,
Yay.
Yes.
And motherhood, how do you feel about motherhood?
I love it.
Is it challenging?
I find it challenging in certain areas because you want to do the best. You want the best version of yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like any mother would. I mean, I get frustrated and stressed out just like a lot of moms. I mean,
Do you ever feel mom guilt?
I do. I'm very hard on myself.
Me too.
I'm very hard on myself.
Me too.
So it's really self-inflicted.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel, yeah, I know. Like, do you sometimes,
I feel like by comparison to maybe what I think in my mind, sometimes like I'm pretty good. I'm just really hard on myself. So my level, my standards I place on myself are just so high that
me too.
by I guess, I don't know, regular people or people just look at me and be like, what are you talking about? You're fine.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Are you strict?
I am the disciplinarian, but for sure over my husband.
do you resent that from time to time in small little moments where you have to be the one that's like, make them do this? I don't know.
Well, look, I think it's just by default.
They get to be the fun ones.
My husband, with his schedule, he's fun dad.
Yes.
Super cool. Yeah.
Sometimes you're like,
most moms have to deal with that.
Yeah, I do too, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm glad we're normal, like the 2 of us anyway.
Totally.
Normal in our whatever that normal is.
Of course. You know, our lives are a little bit different, but I try to keep it as normal and the status quo at home.
Yeah.
My children, one of the biggest things, and I'm very proud of this because it takes a lot of work to do this, but I've kept it normal. My children don't feel that entitlement, oh, my dad's this, my dad's the other. No, they're just like everybody else. We don't have people driving us around in the sense like he doesn't have a special bodyguard, my children, or I do my own groceries. Like their life is very normal. Mm-hmm. And that was very important to both of us, Francis and I, in making that decision. Was it the right one? At the time, we wanted to make sure, like, was it the right thing for our family? We made sure we did our due diligence when he decided to go to that national level. And we may be back at that national level. Like, I don't feel that we are done in whatever capacity that would be. So we'll revisit it at that time when our children are whatever age. And again, make that decision and keeping that normality and even keeledness from the get-go, where my children never felt this. I didn't want them feeling.
Right. Do you have family dinners every night?
As many times as he can come home, in the sense that when my husband's home, absolutely. At the table, we're sitting down.
I'm so failing at this. I want to get it in. I've got to get stricter. I've got to be like, we're having family
If
dinner
your husband's home,
this time.
right, like forecast it, build it out. I know it sounds kind of like I have to schedule it. No, but I kind of do.
I really do. Otherwise, it's a free fall.
If it's just me and them, for example, last night, he had an event and I made lasagna, which
Yum.
I was super
At least you're
proud of.
cooking.
I made lasagna. It was a Monday night.
You're already ahead of me.
And so it was a Monday night. And I sat down with them and we're just like chatting about, I don't know, whatever it is. My son's reading Harry Potter. My daughter was telling me something about school. Normal. We need to be normal. There's nothing.
All right. There's final question about it looks like we're going to have former President Trump be the candidate again this year. If he came to your husband and said, I have a position in here, what do you think? I mean, I know you can't speak for your husband, but do you think that would be cool? Like to go whatever?
I don't think that would be, it's always a possibility. You never know. That former President Trump is most likely going to be our nominee. It very much looks like that. We have Super Tuesday today. Today.
I already cast my vote.
Today. And so we have to always be open to what may become a possibility. So I think as in every decision, Francis and I have always sat down and said, okay, let's look at this. Is this the right time? Is this the best thing for our family? Where would this,
So you would do anything. Like if you had to move to, let's say, Tallahassee or let's say Washington, or like you're down.
I think that we are open to those possibilities. I can't speak for Francis.
So any conversations that you can talk about that may have come from that camp?
Nothing yet.
All right. So
we shall see.
Okay, what about like if it was a vice president?
Oh my goodness. Well, I don't even know if that could happen because you have to be from different states. I'm not sure where.
Oh, really? You see, you know more than me.
We'll see.
I go, well, hopefully he got out of the N to the Y because I think they put sanctions on him in New York.
Where would be a possibility? You do have a young Hispanic in Miami.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
What's the Hispanic young vote?
You would be, what is the vice president's wife's called?
Great question.
It's like SCOTUS is for the Supreme Court. POTUS is the president.
First lady is FLOTUS.
FLOTUS is the first lady.
But that would not be the first lady.
What would you be if you... We have to figure this out.
I'm first lady of Miami
I'm
now. I don't know what
first lady
is.
of Miami. Okay, I'm in good company here. If we go over there, I'm going to be like... Remember me and that important event, that ladies' event you had to be at? Come on down.
Oh, you never
Round two.
Whatever God wants.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'm praying for you and your family.
Thank you so
much. I
much.
love you and your family.
We are so fond of you and Grant. Thank you so much for everything.
Totally support you. Love everything that you're doing. And you really admire how easy you make everything look.
Thank you.
And how supportive you are.
Thank you.
I know that's probably easier said than done. You probably wouldn't let us know if it was a lot harder than it was because you're amazing. And nobody needs to know certain things and they don't need to know everything.
We are very transparent. Listen, what you see is what you get. It's not always, flowers and roses and all that. We all know that. But then again, what career is.
Exactly.
And I think that it's what you make of it.
That's
and
right.
What attitude you have towards it. If you walk in thinking, oh, this is going to be difficult or I can't handle it or whatnot, then you're setting yourself up that way.
Right.
You have to be positive no matter what it is, no matter what your career path is or what you're doing in life on an individual personal level or as a unit with your spouse. it depends. It really just depends on you.
Yeah.
It's all about your attitude.
Well, I love y'all's relationship. How long have y'all been married?
17 years.
Yeah.
Been together for 19, so we're getting there.
I'm going to have my 20 this year.
Congratulations.
Woo!
How exciting.
On the 4th of July.
Really?
There'll be fireworks.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
No kidding. Where did you all get married? Here?
In LA. We lived in LA at the time. So at our home in LA.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, thank
Congrats.
you. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
so
me.
much for being a strong, powerful woman who's also got your own thing. You're also supportive. You're empowering of
Likewise.
others. It's just, it's really great. And thank you for being our first lady.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, there it is. Another episode of the Elena Cardone Show. Always bringing it to you. And if she becomes the first lady governor of Florida, then I gave it to you first. Just always remember that. It is action time.
Women need that inspiration because we pass it on to more women.
10X, ladies, welcome to the one and only Empire Builder herself.
I think we're going to smash it.
This is Elena Cardone!
How far can we make it?
Elena is bringing in a whole group of women who are actually trying to better the world, and they're looking for ways that they can rise up.
I knew in my soul I could do it.
We need to.
You guys can't be crazy at home. And I'm fantastic.
An empire mindset, dynamic relationships, master your money, and design your life. Those 4 pillars are the foundation to building an empire, and that is what these women are going to take away today.
You got more excuses than you got solutions.
Is what do we have to do in order to get you guys not accepting anything besides greatness in your lives?
How many people have met someone that you could potentially maybe do business with? Any kind? Stand up, stand up. Major decisions happen at major events. It's a no-brainer, right? Well, this is for you. First, I want to thank you all. This is an empire table.
Just jump into it, at least do one seminar, do one conference. Definitely invest in it because it changes your mindset.
If you want to get supercharged, go to the ladies' event.
Elena is so amazing. She's inspired so many people.
She's just encouraging everybody to understand that the more you build your personal life, the more you build your professional life, the more all of it thrives together.
Because if you don't bet on yourself, nobody will bet on you. Women are in power.
Together we rise.
We have this.
Women are a lot smarter than guys.
Huh? That's what I thought.